Look at this book nerd. Hey buddy, you want to learn to levitate something? Check this out. Oh shit. Welcome back for another class guide video. In today's video, we're going to go over a special powerful class, the Sorcerer. Do you like the idea of having incredible magical power flowing through your blood? Do you laugh at your friends who spend their days and nights face down in books and tomes just trying to learn something new? Wizards. Do you think it's rather pathetic to have to rely on another to gain your power and achieve success? Warlocks. If you answered yes to any of those, then the Sorcerer might be the class for you. We're going to go over the Sorcerer's class features, what racial choices go best, spellcasting and specific spells, and of course the 2 confirmed subclasses, so you're going to want to stick around for the entire video. If you guys end up enjoying this video, please subscribe, for there will be much more Baldur's Gate 3 content on the way, and as always, links to my Twitter and Discord will be below. Let's get right into it. A sorcerer inherits their magical abilities naturally. Magic is a part of every sorcerer, suffusing mind and spirit with untapped power that is waiting to be unleashed. Whether your magic comes from an ancient bloodline infused with the magic of dragons, or it's just raw, uncontrolled magic within you that manifests in unexpected ways, there's no denying its potential power. There's no need for spellbooks or patrons when playing as a sorcerer. All you need is a desire to learn to harness and channel your own inborn magic, and then the world will be at your hands. Be prepared to wield extraordinary and destructive magic if you choose this class. Sorcerers are great damage dealers. If you're into blowing stuff up by creating powerful fireballs to devastate enemies, you will get the job done. The interesting thing though is that even though your magic may be feared by many, sorcerers are very good in social situations due to their higher charisma ability scores. They are basically charismatic death dealers. As a sorcerer, you can also provide some support to your party, but it's not as varied and reliable as some of the other spellcasting classes. The role that your sorcerer takes will depend on some key choices that you make early on and what you're going to specialize in, and we're going to get into all of that in this video. Before we talk about what races go well with the Sorcerer, let's first quickly go over what ability scores you'll want to invest in. It's important to know that Charisma is the spellcasting ability for the Sorcerer, so this will be your primary ability score that you focus on. Constitution makes a great second choice, not only for the added Constitution modifier to your rather low base HP, but also because Constitution helps with spells that require concentration. The higher your Constitution ability score, the better chance you have for holding that concentration. Dexterity will commonly be a third choice, for it really helps with your defensive-based capabilities. Now we can get into what races are good choices for the Sorcerer, so you can really take advantage of all those racial bonuses. Always remember that it's about having fun though, and there's so many ways to make many races work well with a class, so it's not set in stone. Half-elves are an excellent choice, for you will gain +2 to your sorcerer's most important ability score, Charisma. You will also get to add another +1 to 2 other ability scores of your choice. You can't go wrong with that. So as a half-elf, you can really get a strong start to your sorcerer in the beginning of the game. Tieflings also offer +2 to Charisma, so they are another more obvious solid choice. You also get a +1 to Intelligence, which isn't necessarily important for you, but it has its uses. It looks like there will also be multiple subclasses of Tieflings in Baldur's Gate 3, so keep an eye out on what features these may grant you. And as always, the Variant Human is a strong choice for a sorcerer, as well as basically every other class. You gain +1 to all ability scores. Lightfoot Halflings, Drow, and Dragonborn all also get a Charisma boost and can be great choices. If you like a lot of these choices but want to narrow it down, make sure to look at the other racial features that are offered as well. Now let's quickly go over the Sorcerer's basic class features such as hit points and proficiencies, and then we can get right into spellcasting in your choice of a Sorcerer subclass. A Sorcerer's hit dice is 1d6, the lowest of the low. So you will start the game with a base HP of the max of 6, and if you use the dice roll HP increase system every time you level up, you will roll one 6-sided die and add the results to your current HP. If you use the fixed rate HP system, your sorcerer will gain 4 HP per level increase. We're not sure at this point what system Larian Studios is going to go with, or if they're going to offer both, but I'm leaning towards them offering both options. Don't forget that your Constitution modifier will always be added to your HP as well. Sorcerers have no armor proficiency. This is not a big deal if you play the Draconic Bloodline subclass, but if you're not a Dragon Mage, you might be using some more defensive spells, and you'll have to be more conscious of your position on the battlefield. Sorcerers also have very few weapon proficiencies. This includes daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. Weapons are not really a sorcerer's thing though, for spellcasting will be your specialty. Sorcerers have proficiency in Constitution and Charisma saving throws. Succeeding in Constitution saving throws is very important for a sorcerer, for you will likely be casting some spells that require concentration, and the only way to hold that concentration is to succeed on Constitution saving throws when enemies are attempting to strike you. Charisma saving throws seem to present themselves much less than the other types, but having proficiency in it can help with things such as resisting being banished or being sent to another plane of existence. For skills, you would choose 2 from Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion. There's definitely some good social skills to choose from. Now on to the fun stuff. At level 1 as a sorcerer, you'll gain spellcasting, and you'll also choose a Sorceress Origin, which is essentially your subclass. If you take a look at the Sorcerer's class chart, excluding levels 11 to 20, for they will not be available in Baldur's Gate 3, at least on launch, you can see that it shows how many cantrips you will know at each level, which cantrips are level 0 spells that can be cast at will and require no spell slots, and the class chart also shows you how many spells you will know, which are spells that have varying levels and require spell slots to use. Since we just did a Druid class video, let's use the Druid as a comparison. The Druid uses prepared spells rather than known spells, which means after each long rest in Baldur's Gate 3, as a Druid you would choose a limited amount of spells you want to use for that specific day, and you cannot change them until you have done another long rest. As a sorcerer, you know spells. You do not have to prepare them each day. Your spell choices are always with you, which means you also have to be more conscious choosing them as you level up, for you can't just swap them in and out like the Druid. But there is one catch. Upon leveling up as a sorcerer, you can choose to replace one of the spells you know with another spell from the sorcerer's spell list. This can be really useful in replacing some of the lower level spells with higher level spells as you level up. The max level of spells you'll be able to learn are level 5 spells, for at classes level 9 and 10, you finally gain access to 5th level spell slots as a sorcerer. The spell slots section of the chart not only tells you up to what level spell you can acquire, but it also shows you how many spell slots you have available at each specific level. Spell slots are kind of like different levels of mana pools that drain after you use them and require you to rest to gain them back. As I said before, Charisma is your spellcasting ability. Your Charisma modifier will be used in your spell save DC, as well as your spell attack modifier, so get to work right away on that Charisma ability score. Now let's take a look at the Sorcerer's spell list, where you'll be choosing your cantrips and spells from. As always, pause the video if you would like to read them all. I will just discuss a few of them by organizing them into different categories, first starting with damage dealing spells. Burning Hands is when you shoot a thin sheet of flames from your fingertips, which deals fire damage and can ignite flammable objects. Fireball is a classic sorcerer and wizard spell, where a bright streak will flash from your pointing finger to a point that you choose, and boom, there will be an explosion of flames. This is an area attack, and it can go around corners, and it can also ignite flammable objects. Lightning Bolt is when a stroke of lightning forming a line 100 feet long and 5 feet wide blasts out from you. It will deal lightning damage and it can ignite objects as well. Ice Storm will create hail of rock-hard ice that falls to the ground doing area damage, and it will turn the terrain into difficult terrain, which will slow creatures within the area. And there are obviously many more damage spells, but let's talk about a few of the control type spells now. For one, you got Sleep, which is, as you would guess, puts a creature into a magical slumber. This can be very useful. Hypnotic Pattern is a spell that will create a twisting pattern of colors that weaves through the air, which can charm creatures. And Hold Person can paralyze enemies. All useful spells to control the battlefield. Then there are more utility-based spells, such as Misty Step, which will teleport your sorcerer up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space that you can see. Dimension Door is another teleportation spell, but this one allows you to bring along objects or a creature your size or smaller. Spells like these, if in the game, will create a lot of environmental opportunities. And there's also some invisibility spells to consider using. Lastly, we will go over a couple good defensive spells. Shield is a spell that is a reaction that will for 1 round give you an invisible barrier of magical force that will up your armor class by 5. Very useful, especially for the Wild Mage subclass. Counterspell is a defensive reaction spell that can make an enemy creature's spell fail. As you can see, the list for cantrips and spells is quite large, and I only mentioned a few. If you want to be more of a fire mage, then choose more fire-based spells. Or maybe you're thinking you want to be an ice mage, no one's stopping you, it's up to you. It'll be very interesting to see how many spells Larian actually includes in the game, but I would assume a good amount of them. Now onto your Sorceress Origin, which is your subclass choice that you will be making right away at level 1. The 2 we will talk about have been confirmed to be in the game. Draconic Bloodline. If you choose this subclass, your innate magic will come from draconic magic that was mingled with your blood or that of your ancestors. At level 1 in this subclass, you will choose one type of damage that is to be associated with your Sorcerer. This is basically stating what your dragon ancestor was like. This choice will affect some features that you gain later. The main reason why people choose this subclass is you will also gain Draconic Resistance at level 1, which is a feature that will raise your hit point maximum by 1 at level 1, as well as increasing it by 1 each level that you gain. Additionally, part of your skin is covered by a thin sheet of dragon scales, which will give you an AC of 13 plus your dexterity modifier. This feature really helps give your sorcerer some survivability and is a key difference between this subclass choice and the other. At level 6 as a dragon mage, you will gain Elemental Affinity, which when you cast spells that deal damage of the type of your draconic ancestry, you can add your charisma modifier to 1 damage roll of that spell. It will also allow you to spend 1 sorcery point to gain resistance to that damage type for a limited amount of time. We will talk about sorcery points in a little bit. Wild Magic. If you choose the Wild Magic subclass, your innate magic will come from the forces of chaos that underlie the order of creation. Raw magic churns within you waiting for an outlet. At level 1 as a Wild Mage, you will gain Wild Magic Surge, which is where after you cast a spell of level 1 or higher, the game might have you roll a d20. If you get a roll of 1, you will have to refer to the Wild Magic Surge chart to roll for a random magical result. You might gain a damage boost for your next spell, or you might grow a beard. You might be forced to teleport, or maybe you even cast Confusion on yourself. This is what makes a Wild Mage so fun. Basically, if you get really unlucky, something random will end up happening. You are a wild, unpredictable mage. You will also gain Tide of Chaos at level 1, which if used will give you advantage on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. You can use this only once per day. It can be very useful when you really need to be successful on something. At level 6, you will gain Bad Luck, which is your ability to twist fate using your wild magic. When another creature you can see makes an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can use your reaction to spend 2 sorcery points to roll 1d4 and apply the number rolled as a bonus or penalty to the creature's roll. Pretty cool, and it can be used to hurt or help someone's luck. So those are the 2 confirmed subclasses for the Sorcerer. Draconic Bloodline can be very good, and overall it just makes you a lot more tough. Wild Magic can be a lot of fun, and it can also certainly be very deadly and helpful. There's only a few key more things to talk about, let's waste no time. At Sorcerer class level 2, you will gain Font of Magic, which will give you something called Sorcery Points. You will have 2 sorcery points at level 2, and you will gain more as you level. The Sorcerer class chart shows you how many points you will gain on your journey to level 10. These points will replenish after a long rest. You can use sorcery points to augment your meta magic as you level up, and we'll talk about meta magic in a minute, or you can use sorcery points to create additional spell slots. So you can do things such as if you need to use another higher level spell, but you don't have the spell slot for it, you can sacrifice your first level spell slots for sorcery points, then turn those points into higher level spell slots, or the other way around. Keep in mind there are some rules to this though. You can also use your sorcery points for meta magic, which is a class feature that you'll gain at level 3. Meta magic gives you the ability to twist your spells to suit your needs, a really useful sorcery class feature. Meta magic will entail giving you 2 of the following options, and you will gain another one upon reaching class level 10. Careful spell, distant spell, empowered spell, extended spell, heightened spell, quickened spell, subtle spell, and twin spell. All of these metamagic choices modify your spells through the use of sorcery points. With most metamagic features, you can only apply one metamagic to a spell at a time. For example, if you use the Quicken spell, you will use 2 sorcery points to make your spell use a bonus action instead of an action. This makes many people think that you can now cast a spell with a bonus action and then still have your action point to cast another spell in the same turn. Unfortunately, this is not allowed, but you can cast a cantrip spell with your action. This can still be a really useful metamagic. Twin spell metamagic allows you to target a second creature with the same spell. This can be an expensive metamagic because to use this you will use up a number of sorcery points equal to that of the spell that you're casting, but it can definitely be worth it because it's super powerful. It's important to keep in mind though that the spell you cast with twin spell has to be a spell that originally only targets one creature. It cannot be a spell that hits multiple enemies, such as a fireball. So that's basically it for the Sorcerer. Don't forget that like all the other classes as well, you will gain the ability score improvements at class levels 4 and 8, or you can choose to gain a feat at those levels, which is something to consider. What a fun class to play. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's a huge help to my videos. I do all sorts of videos on this channel, ranging from comedy videos to live streams to game tutorials to game reviews to product reviews, etc. I would love to see some of you guys on a future video. Much more Baldur's Gate 3 content on the way. Until next time.